The League of Women Voters presents Utah's new energy sources. Utility scale solar.
I'm Debbie Lyons. I'm the Director of Sustainability for Salt Lake City. So in 2016, our City Council and Mayor passed some pretty big goals to reduce carbon emissions and improve air quality. And one of those goals was to reduce our carbon emissions 80% by 2040. The best way that we can do this and what is in our control is to look at our own municipal buildings and see what kind of electricity mix that we are feeding into our buildings.
Today, about 14% of electricity consumed by city government buildings and operations comes from renewable sources. Almost 70% of our power comes from burning coal and natural gas.
We worked with 5 other partners and Rocky Mountain Power to envision this Electron project.
Electron Solar Project will provide 80 megawatts of electricity and cover most of Salt Lake City's municipal needs. Plus the energy needs for 5 partners: Utah Valley University, Park City, Summit County, Park City Mountain Resort, Deer Valley Resort.
We have long been committed to air quality and reducing pollution that leads to climate change. And this is a significant project that will help us get to those goals, to reduce carbon emissions, to clean the air, and power with renewable energy.
What's up with our air quality? Why does the American Lung Association give us an F for ozone and daily particulate matter?
There's wintertime inversions where you see the particulate matter. And then during the summer, we have an ozone problem where the pollution that's coming out of our buildings and our tailpipes, combined with the sun, are creating this ozone pollution problem, which essentially is like a sunburn for your lungs when you breathe it. So our air quality problem is becoming a year-round issue, and just powering our lives with renewable clean energy will help us in solving that problem.
Wait, are CO2 emissions and air pollution the same thing?
So what we consider air pollution, the things that you see, that's called PM 2.5. It's particulate matter, and you see that in the wintertime. There's also pollution called ozone, and that happens mostly in the summertime here in Salt Lake City. Those are air quality issues. Carbon emissions are a little bit different. Those are all of the greenhouse gas causing emissions that contribute to climate change. So they're kind of 2 different things, but the fortunate thing is that the actions that we take to electrify, to power our lives with renewable energy, to reduce emissions, all benefit the greater picture of reducing air pollution and also reducing carbon emissions.
So let's talk CO2. How are we doing? In 2016, a worldwide body of climate scientists determined that a global CO2 level of 430 parts per million would push the world past the target for avoiding dangerous climate change. In the Salt Lake Valley, CO2 is often higher than 450 parts per million and has reached over 500 parts per million in the winter.
Some areas of the country, including here, we are over our budget of carbon emissions in the atmosphere. We're at a tipping point where it's not sustainable. We will be facing greater climate risks, and I think we're already seeing some of those risks playing out with heat and floods and weather patterns. And so it requires us to take more drastic and actions more quickly to reduce the amount of carbon that we're emitting.
When will Electron Solar be up and running? The Electron project is expected by the end of 2023. Are you doing anything for private buildings and homes?
For the general public, we're also looking at projects in the future to power our entire communities. There's 18 communities working together right now to bring these kinds of projects online that will help power our entire communities with renewable energy.
Will solar energy cost more than what the city pays now for energy?
We pay an electricity bill with an assumed fuel cost. So Rocky Mountain Power estimates how much natural gas is going to cost and how much coal is going to cost for the following year. And at the end of the year, they look at what the fuel actually costs, and there's a true up that happens. And so we budget for that true up. The benefit that it has for us is that we are no longer subject to those true ups, because once you build the solar asset, the fuel is free.
Will we be able to reduce our use of natural gas and coal?
So once the solar project comes online, what that does is Rocky Mountain Power can look at the energy that's being generated by that resource and look at the other resources that are being used to power our lives and dial back or dial up in whatever way that makes sense for the entire grid.
How big will the new solar farm make a dent in our CO2 emissions and pollution?
So electricity is a pretty big component of our carbon footprint. And by shifting our electrical resources to renewable resources, we are reducing the amount of carbon emissions that we are generating here locally.
Will it make a real difference in such a big country?
Collectively, if communities across the country are doing this, it will bring those numbers down. And as developed communities, it is our jobs to reduce our impact.
So, the new solar farm will help clean the air and reduce CO2 emissions. Anything else?
So cleaning the air is one aspect, and also reducing carbon emissions and keeping us from experiencing future disasters is the other piece of the puzzle that we're trying to solve for here.
Including wildfires?
Another climate vulnerability that we face here in Salt Lake City is increased wildfires, and throughout the western United States. And we also suffer from poor air quality from the wildfires that are happening in our state and across the western United States. So reducing the risk of wildfire requires reducing carbon emissions.
So that's why we're going solar.
You know, we share this earth with others, and we have the ability, we have the technology, we have the resources to make this happen.